Figment 2 Creed Valley is wild. The game takes place within a person's mind where you play the embodiment of courage named Dusty. And it's your job to fix a broken moral compass by removing the nightmares responsible for it. Nightmares that will battle you while singing and dancing their hearts out, and it's pretty amazing.
My black and poetry will turn this into night.
Figment 2 is a linear adventure where you explore the deepest parts of one man's mind and uncover the things that have been causing him trouble in life. The gameplay loop is quite simple with a mix of combat, a good few puzzles and some exploration for good measure too. The puzzles take up most of the playtime and they're simple enough with only one or two ever causing me any hassle. And they're generally well balanced. They weren't too easy that I was bored, but not overly complicated to the point of frustration. At one point there were these constellation puzzles on the ground, forcing me to memorise them to take the right path, and then do some unique puzzles in each room to progress. It was the most challenging the puzzles ever got, but I love the diversity in this section of the game. A unique part of this game is the open and closed-minded mechanic. Throughout the world you encounter these statues that when you hit them you open or close the mind, and it was used well in puzzles. For example, some paths would be inaccessible in the closed-minded state, but once I opened the mind, the path would open. I found exploring the world engaging largely thanks to these statues, but they also cleverly tie into the narrative. When talking to the NPCs, or opinions in this case, these hairy little creatures would offer you their 2 cents on a topic, and their response would change depending on what state the mind is in. Most of the time this only results in an interesting or funny line, but at times you might need an NPC to open a door or stand on a button, and only one version of them would help you. Combat is simple and does the job, which is appropriate for a game where it isn't the focus, and while it has some shortcomings like a small enemy pool, it made it easy to overlook. But the boss fights are hands down the best part of this game. During each one, the bosses sing along to some amazing music and it makes them so incredibly memorable. The first boss is a rockstar pig that sings about destroying you as he fights. But the biggest letdown though is that there were only 2 bosses that you fought multiple times, and they left me wanting more. Not because they were bad, they were simply so good that I craved more. As for the story, I would say the characters aren't anything to write home about. They do their job and the voice acting is great, but certain narrative points weren't dwelled on for long enough. One important part of the narrative lasted for about what seemed to be a minute, and I felt it needed more time to be fleshed out. However, the overarching plot of battling with your nightmares and how they weave this all into exploration of the mind was brilliant. The game runs flawlessly on PS5 with a smooth frame rate and one crash across my 5 or so hours with the game. But the Switch is sadly another story entirely. Dusty feels like he's moving through mud and the frame drops are atrocious. Even the cutscenes chug, which is a massive shame. The game still looks amazing on both the Switch and PS5 because the art style is just that good, but the performance issues on the Switch make it nearly unplayable and I bailed after just about an hour for the PS5 version. I enjoyed the simplicity of Figment 2 Creed Valley. What it lacked in gameplay depth was more than made up with a gorgeous art style, memorable boss fights, and a more engaging narrative than I was expecting. It battled with the pressures of life like the trade-off between work-life balance and how it can affect the people around you, and that's why I liked it a lot on PS5. I never played the first Figment, but you can be sure that I'm going back to it now, because if it's more of this then I can't wait to play. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate your time. Check out that video on the left, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all on the next video.